Marcus.
Hi, Cheryl.
Amina. Hello. 3 people I don't know. How are you?
Hi,
Hi,
guys.
Maddie.
Hi, Maddie.
Hi, Marcus.
I have to put this up and show you.
This is an adult. This is an adult show.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, who is this here?
This is Iris.
Iris, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Fine.
Nice to see you.
It's good to see you too. Who's this here? Madeline.
Oh, Candace is my mom.
What'd you
my
say?
My daughter, Maddie.
Oh, and you are who?
Candace Egan.
What's your name?
Oh, Candace.
Oh, Candace.
Yeah. And then
Both of her daughters are on this call.
What's your name?
My name?
The woman with the braid.
Oh, I'm Alex.
Hello, Alex.
Hi,
Alex.
Hey.
Cheryl, that's Candace's other daughter.
Pardon me?
That's Candace's
my other
other daughter.
Oh, she has 2 daughters?
2 daughters on here.
What's the other one's name?
Well, Alex.
There's Madeline.
Yep.
And
And
then
then Alex.
There's a woman in a plaid shirt who looks like a lesbian.
Score.
Oh,
Cheryl,
Alex,
straight
yeah.
in there. Straight in there.
You know more about me than I know about myself, I think.
I see. That's why you have on that plaid shirt.
Hi, Alina.
Are we all signaling?
On.
Is there a way to see everybody?
Cutie.
Oh, I didn't see him. Oh gosh, I knew he'd have gotten really big since I saw him.
He's really big. He's got 4 teeth.
Oh, look at that baby.
Hi, baby. There's Cheryl. There's Cheryl Clark.
Hi, baby. Oh, look at those little cheekies.
He's squirming all over the place. Oh, geez. Squirming.
The wiggly worm.
I wanted to name him Herman, but I got shot down. But then Squirmin' Herman.
Herman Herman?
Yeah, don't you think that'd be a good name for him? Squirmin' Herman? It'd be accurate.
Be accurate.
That would be
I
accurate.
like Ben.
Well,
Ben is good.
Hey, is
How are
anyone
you
else
doing,
having
Marcus?
freezing screen and bad audio?
That's your internet connection.
We're outside, Candace. We all had to go indoors for good internet.
All right. I mean, I often out the back here get good internet, but it's freezing.
well, I say we get started.
Hi, Anna.
I think this is going to be a short but sweet one.
So I'm asking one person at a time. Okay.
Can you hear us, Candace?
Yep.
Kansas.
That's my name.
Thank you all for coming out for our special Juneteenth First Friday open mic. We're a cut down crew here, but all 3 readers are really awesome tonight. Does everyone know what Juneteenth is here?
Yes, sort of. Yeah.
It's when the general showed up in Galveston, Texas in 1865 and said, no, you really are free. I know we said it 2.5 years ago, but you really are free now.
Yes.
Right. Some people don't listen to things unless it's at the business end of the gun. But yeah, those slaves were still working on their plantations in Texas 2.5 years after Emancipation Proclamation was brought into law January 1st, 1863. And then 100 years of Jim Crow followed, but I know that y'all are not surprised. So we have 3 readers tonight. Our first reader is one of my favorite people in the world, Miss Cheryl Clark. That's right.
Woo!
Thank you for asking me to read.
What?
I'm gonna mute everyone except for you, Cheryl.
You hear Cheryl Clark?
Oh, they changed the, you have to unmute yourself, Cheryl. They changed the,
I see, yeah. Okay.
awesome.
Can people hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So I'll read three poems, maybe 2. The first one is called 14th Street Was Gutted in 1968. I wrote this in 1986. 14th Street was gutted in 1968. Fire was started on one side of the street. Flames licked a trail of gasoline to the other side. For several blocks, a gauntlet of flames. For several days, debris smoldered with the stench of buildings we had known all our lives, I recall the death of Otis Redding. My sense of place was cauterized. Since that time, the city has become a buffalo, nearly a dinosaur, and as with everything else white men have wanted for themselves, endangered or extinct. I'll just move right along here. This is called Living as a Lesbian in the Archive of Style. I'll just stop. I have a series of poems that are called Living as a Lesbian. Even my bestseller is called Living as a Lesbian. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, Living as a Lesbian in the Archive of Style, and this is 2019. Epigraph. I remember one summer I worked a lot in Washington Square Park. It must have been about 1966. The park was divided. It has these walks, sort of like a sunburst, and there were territories staked out. There were young hippie junkies down one row, and there were lesbians down another. Really tough, amazingly hardcore lesbians. Diane Arbus, 1972. Regular Lucky Strike or Camel Pack rolled up into the sleeve of a short sleeve bandlawn pullover, pleated gabardine slacks, silk socks, and the smallest men's size wingtips. Is this what you mean by hardcore? Or this? A very white and very pressed tee inside black chinos, highly polished black penny loafers with dimes inserted in the slot, and Clorox white crew socks. Quiffed and pumped a la James Dean or Tony Curtis, or conked and coiffed a la Jackie Wilson or Dee Clark. Hardcore? Or do you mean by hardcore scowling to conceal the thrown away, runaway, abused, abandoned heart of a small child shut behind a closet door, blocking the blows or errant advances of some wanton relative or foster parent? Or by hardcore, do you mean committed to the practice of waiting on and for their femmes, often older and more schooled in the ways of roles, who rescued and raised their butchers the rest of the way while nasally singing, "Come over here, Daddy. Let me wrap my long legs round your neck and rock you, rock you, rock you a little while." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Can we all unmute and give her a little round of applause?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.
Before we have our next speaker, I just wanted to mention that today would have been Breonna Taylor's 27th birthday.
I know, my goodness.
Yeah.
27.
Way too soon.
Way too soon.
Should be not at all.
Not at all.
With that, I would like to introduce Alex Egan. Many of you know her, some as family. And I will let her tell you about some of the things that she's been experiencing in New York City as of late.
I actually wanted to read a poem first that I wrote a few years ago that suddenly feels like I wrote it last week. So I'll start with that. It's called Flex. Brought to a place we weren't meant for, weren't bred for, or an alien. Oh, sorry, I'm not starting at the beginning. Start over. Flex. Anything you can hold is a weapon. If it bends, it's a weapon. If it breaks, it's a weapon you know how to use. If they can take it away, it's a weapon. Leave us empty-handed, we're the weapon. Draw gold from nowhere, alchemy, a second, third language. Reincarnation, a fourth, fifth language. Fluency comes with big smiles and gap teeth. Can't you tell we hate you? Sweet as honey, spite. Jesus was a weapon, so we invented Black Jesus, still a weapon. Black Santa, a weapon. Brought to a place we weren't meant for, weren't bred for. Born alien, apart, born drowning in this shit English. But we sharpen and shape it, make it stretch and flex, bend it over, lift it up, take King's English, mud and slick oil, make it new, make it beg, make it whisper. Riots, bricks, tricks, fists, pillow talk. Lover's rock and lullaby, born to lose, born too loose. Our tongues are funnels. Can pour the middle passage in our palms, the Atlantic Ocean in your mouth, words pool, salt, half pearl, half mercury, baby's daydream mutiny. Anyway, now I feel like I'm living in that moment in Brooklyn. As I think a lot of you know, I was arrested over the weekend for peacefully protesting. I'm probably gonna cry at some point because I've just been crying all the time. It's so crazy here and so hard. I started going out on Thursday, and the first protest was pretty small. It was just 200 of us, and it was like 200 cops, and it was super young. And I felt like really hopeless after that protest because it was like 20-year-olds. It was a lot of people that seemed like we should be protecting them. It was all these like LGBTQIA, like 20-year-old little babies on the front lines, and the cops were super aggressive. And then it kind of exploded really quickly. Every night that I've been out has been scary. Friday night, I was in Fort Greene Park when that police van was bombed, and the cops went crazy, and I ended up hiding in the dark and trying to find a friend and almost threw up from the adrenaline. After that, I like took going out a lot more seriously, and now I go out with safety goggles. I like always have the number of the National Lawyers Guild written on my arm, all things that like before Friday, I thought like that's not necessary here in Brooklyn. Like I'm just holding a sign and chanting George Floyd with my friends. I wouldn't possibly need to worry about being tear gassed or hurt. Saturday was the day that I was arrested. We started down by Prospect Park and walked up Flatbush to Barclays. And I think that was the first moment where I really understood that I might be hurt. We were walking up Prospect Park on Flatbush. The street was closed off, and it was, I don't know, several hundred of us walking up very quietly. For some reason, the police weren't there, and it seemed like a weird lull in the storm. One side is the park, and the other side is apartments, and people were just leaning out the window and supporting us, chanting, handing out bottles of water. And then suddenly someone called, "Be careful, the cops are behind us." And we looked, and cops were coming up in SUVs at about 40 miles an hour, just through the entire crowd. And people just scattered. Everyone got out of the way except for a girl who wasn't able to get her bike out of the way. So her bike was totaled. And that moment of like understanding that the cops didn't care if we got hit or not, and that like I was very disposable in this moment was like horrifying. And ever since that moment, like I've been on like high adrenaline alert for days. The footage that maybe some of you have seen of the cop car running into the crowd was maybe 20 minutes after the experience I'm talking about, which I don't think anyone caught on film. But I was standing right there in the corner when the SUV plowed into the crowd from a stopped position, just sped up into the crowd. The thing that you don't see in that video is that an older Black woman intervened and like stood on the cop car and was trying to tell protesters to go, because everyone got, these moments happen so fast and then everyone just freaks out because you never think that a cop is gonna come down the street at you, and they open the side doors of the car while they're going full speed. So even if you get out of the way, they can knock you down with the door of the car. And this woman got on the car after it was stopped and was telling protesters, just go home, like this isn't the right way. And the cops tried to arrest her. We kept marching up Flatbush and across the Manhattan Bridge. And I was only with them for a couple blocks into Manhattan before I saw the cops tackle somebody violently, and I started filming it. And someone came toward me and said, "Put your hands behind your back." And I said, "Tell me why first." And so 3 cops tackled me at that moment. One held my head down into the asphalt, one cuffed me, one stood on my ankles. My phone fell on the ground, and I said, "Can you watch out for my phone?" And he said this and pointed to it and put his knee on it and ground it into the pavement until it shattered. Then I sat on the curb in cuffs for a while. The thing that I didn't know before getting arrested, I've never been arrested before, was your arresting officer has to stay with you. They have to stay and like maintain control over you until you're processed at the precinct. But the violent officers don't want to stay with you. They want to go out and make another arrest. It's really boring to go to the precinct. So a young officer who already had another arrestee with her, my arresting officer said to her, "This one's yours now too," and he just ran off and tackled somebody else. So I don't even have recourse for what happened to me because I don't know who arrested me. The woman that arrested me, it was, I think, like her first week on the force. She was also totally scared. She didn't know, it was her first arrest. She had to constantly ask, like, what do we do? And, you know, she didn't know the process at all. And I think that's their technique, is that more aggressive cops will take a junior cop and make her or him deal with the arrestees. So after I was arrested, we sat in the curb for about an hour and a transport van came and picked us up. We were in the transport van driving to 1PP only for a few minutes, but because they arrested so many people that day, there was 350 of us arrested, they were backed up. So we sat in the van for 2.5 hours before we were able to get out. We waited in line for another hour. Then I was processed and put in a cell, and then I stayed there for 4 or 5 more hours. And the arresting officer has to be there the whole time. So that's why they're doing that. She was also there until 6 a.m. None of the cops in the precinct wear masks. There's no drinking water. There's no food. There's no way to wash your hands. There's no hand sanitizer. Now it's been 6 days, so I feel better, but that was the scariest thing when I left, is like trying to assess my exposure, because they're not trying to keep anybody safe. There was an empty like paper cup on the floor of my cell, and they said if I wanted water, I could just use this dirty cup that was on the floor of the cell next to the toilet, and that they would like, you know, find a way to fill it up, but I passed. And that was it. When I was eventually released at 6 a.m., I wasn't charged. I didn't have to post bail. I wasn't fingerprinted. I received a summons for standing in the road when the sidewalk was available, and was released. Now I know that arrestees are spending more than 24 hours in jail for that. My friend did jail support 2 days ago, and she said the people she talked to when so jail support is when you come out of there are a bunch of people standing on the curb across the street that are like support, and they have hand sanitizer, they can give you a ride home, they can connect you with a National Lawyers Guild lawyer, and they cheer for you. It's so awesome. It's really, like, I can't describe the relief you feel when you come out and there's somebody there that has like a banana and Band-Aids and tells you that you did a good thing and that they're proud of you. But my friend that did jail support a couple of days ago said that everyone she spoke to had been inside for 20 hours. Yesterday, they revoked the rule that is supposed to mean that you can't spend more than 24 hours in jail without either being released or seeing a judge or being charged or something. So now they can keep you for multiple days because there's so many people being arrested. As soon as 8 o'clock hits, they just go, like, it's very safe during the day. I went out yesterday during the day to Grand Army Plaza, and it's very racially mixed, it's very age mixed. My friends bring their babies and strollers and dogs, and then at 8 o'clock, it just becomes complete pandemonium, and anything could happen at any moment. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I live in a police state. I'm on like group safety texts where we check in with each other and try and find ways home. The cops, if you're on a bike, they'll take your bike even if they don't take you. So then you're stranded in the city because city bikes shut down, Uber's shut down, taxis are shut down, the subway closes, buses run, but they're only for essential workers. And so the cops can board at any time and ask for proof that you're an essential worker. And if you're not, you'll be arrested. There's so much fear here, and I know that it's intentional. I know that my experience being arrested was so much more violent than it needed to be, and that it was intentional because my adrenaline system is fucked. And like when I go out now, I'm so nervous all the time in the way that I wasn't. And that was a pretty mild arrest experience compared to what I know many people have dealt with for decades here. I can't even imagine people that have these experiences all the time and then have to live in heavily policed communities, that kind of long-term adrenaline that is bad for your health that you just feel all the time. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say, but that is what New York is right now. I also want to say, like, I feel so much support here. I know that Brooklyn is on our side. You know, like, we'll stop traffic for 45 minutes and no cars can move and nobody complains. People roll their windows down and they put NWA on the radio. They hand out snacks if they have them in their car. They hang out the windows and chant along with us. And I feel like there's this idea that people are trying to put out there that the protesters are only representing the protesters and that Brooklyn and the rest of New York isn't behind us, but there's so much support, people hanging out their windows, bringing food down from their apartment. My friends were sheltered in the backyard of someone's house yesterday, hiding from the cops after curfew. She just opened her door and said, get in, get in, get in. And 10 people hid in her house for a couple hours. One of them was a 10-year-old child. But it doesn't really matter how young you are or how old you are, or if you're wearing the bright green baseball cap that the street legal team wears. They arrested them yesterday. They arrested so many news people. Like, everyone is vulnerable right now. But I don't know. That's where we are.
Wow. So basically, New York is under martial law.
I feel like we are under an outside occupying force. There are, full riot cops everywhere. And it's like, I don't want to be afraid, but I'm afraid. Like, I don't stay out that late after curfew generally. And when I come home fast and I look up the street to make sure there aren't cops there. And then I just run.
I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for sharing, Alex. I'm speechless.
That's my little alarm going off that tells me I have a half an hour to get inside or be arrested.
Wow.
Which is not, that's what every New Yorker gets, that push to their phone that you have 30 minutes to get home. But if anyone has any questions about anything else that's happening here, I'm happy to answer questions.
Yes, please unmute. Ask away. Cheryl, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I got it. Can you hear me?
Aren't you inside now?
I am inside now, yeah.
Okay, good, good. What an experience.
I'm definitely living through a moment in Brooklyn that I never thought that I would. Also in good ways, I have had conversations on the street with neighbors that, arise spontaneously, where we talk about what we would like our neighborhood to look like in the future. And, I'm happy that people are being politicized. My friend walked next to a guy yesterday that is an ex-Marine that was a Republican until like 3 weeks ago.
Mm,
Wow, that's cool.
that's hopeful.
Yeah. Also, I think everyone should read the book End of Policing, which I'm advocating very strongly for this movement, defund the police, which I think when you say defund the police, people think that we mean that the NYPD is like abolished overnight. Defund the police is actually like a really common sense idea. And that book, End of Policing, which was put out by Verso, because they're trying to spread awareness right now, you can download it for free from Verso.
Really?
From download it from what?
The publisher is Verso. I'll send you the link, Mom.
We posted a
Okay,
link
thanks.
to that book on the Bushel website and the bulletin board. There's a link there.
Okay, yeah.
It's easy to find if you Google it too.
Alex, how are people communicating about organizing? Are they using mostly like Twitter and stuff like that, or how are they communicating about violence?
Big protests there's a couple Instagram accounts there's one that's called Justice for George Floyd that posts all of the protests, and he also updates constantly because they move, he'll update locations. But first, like most, like I'm on a Signal chat with my friends, and the text messages automatically delete after 6 hours. There are these other things I never, like when you go out to a protest, they tell you to turn your face recognition and your thumbprint recognition off your phone so the cops can't force you to open your phone. So it's only a code and you can say that you don't remember the code or something. But they will force you to open the phone if it's on face recognition and go through your phone. So I take all those things off, turn my GPS off, and then in any chat where we're talking about stuff, we just have the text messages delete after a few hours.
Is there a sense, do you think Instagram is, sorry, it's working. Is Instagram watched, do you think, by the cops too? I mean, they must know about all those sites.
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram is watched. And I have heard of people that have had cops come to their house after. One of the really unfortunate things that's happening is people want to just Instagram things live or post things without blurring people's faces. And so they will try and find people that way. Actually, a friend of mine that has a design company here made an Instagram filter that automatically blurs people's whole bodies, so you can live stream with that. But I see a lot of people just posting. One of the women that was in a holding cell with me was arrested taking a selfie with a burnt out police van. She wasn't even part of the protest. But I think there's this, we're like seeing something insane that we've never seen before, and everyone wants to put it on Instagram, but it is not safe to do so.
Alex, I think a lot of us are up here watching pretty closely, but maybe if you have any ideas of how we can support you and your efforts and just the whole movement, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on that.
I feel like I'm not really even sure myself right now. Tiana gave a bunch of produce to a friend of mine who's making 100 sandwiches and bringing them down for jail support. Mm-hmm. And Alethea has sent me medical supplies to do like first aid on the street. And so I feel like I got this full-time job with no training, and I'm just trying to like figure it out really, really fast. But I think it's good. All these connections and all these, like Tiana and my friend Johnny bringing these sandwiches down is great to bring sandwiches down, but I think it's more important because we're building a network for the future, because I don't really know what New York's gonna look like in a couple of weeks. Like it could look the same, or it could look like nothing I can imagine right now. Yeah, I mean, the more than that, I don't really know yet what is helpful.
Are there organizations that are providing that jail support that need funds?
There's a couple. The Democratic Socialists of America New York City branch supports jail support, and there's also a group called No New Jails or No New Prisons New York, which supports jail support. But a lot of it is just people showing up, and like there's a private Signal chat that you can just text hello to, and they can tell you like, we need people and these materials at this location, at this jail. But I don't think there's one like jail support organization that I'm aware of.
Are you on that Signal chat? I mean,
I'm not, because my phone got smashed, I can like use it a little bit, but I can't add new people to Signal. So I just have to go through another friend that's on it.
Wow. People have been tweeting for jail support. Like literally, if you just go into Twitter, even if you're not, even for people you aren't following, and if you just type in jail support and have the tab open for most recent postings instead of top postings, then people are just posting like right now need people outside on this corner, or or I'm collecting stuff to take wherever, meet me here, and you could type in like the locality or whatever. A lot of people are doing that on Twitter, I've noticed.
Do we have any other questions?
Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for what's going on.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you for doing what you're doing, and thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. It's very powerful. Have one more reading. One more reader, and it seems like our reader has been co-reader. Iris Cushing.
Hey. Thanks, Marcus. And thank you so much.
You're on mute now.
What about now? Can you guys hear me now? Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. It's so good to be with you on Zoom tonight. And to hear your story, Alex, and to hear your work, Cheryl. I'm just gonna read 3 poems in honor of the Juneteenth First Friday by 3 of my favorite Black poets. This poem is by Tracy Morris, and I would love to read it in honor of Breonna Taylor for her birthday. Happy birthday, Breonna. Surreal. Light blue eyeshadow shows where she's headed. Still frozen precipitation, startling afro in azure, earth versus snow. She wafts as waifs, but no wafer, not thin, lithe, white, on lips, tongue tips. Her skin turns brazen makeup bronze, high relief, changes to black cat, while Kate Moss poses. Surya is the rolling stone, immutable flips unquantifiably. She chooses to stand on her own too, unpedestaled, refusing the position, ungoverned by a French mother ice. She knows is hardly the veneer, legs barked with gnarled knees, the knots deep in her bones. This is by Harriet Mullen. Bête Noire. Life ain't all beer and Skittles for the white minstrel man who hums ragtime tunes and whistles the buck dancer's choice while he darkens his face with bone black made of human charcoal. Sometimes, just as he goes on stage, the holy Jim Jams grabs him, shakes him loose from his professional jollification, and with a giant thumb and forefinger, holds him dangling over the dark mouth of the Bête Noire. And this poem is by Amiri Baraka. The Education of the Air. They said they don't want anything or anybody. They were lying and they knew it. They knew they were telling the truth. You and I know they were telling the truth. But then, how could they be lying? How could they be lying? First, the older world is turned back again, and the people who rule it are neither women nor men. They are inside a thing, inside it, and who asks for them sees nothing but tilted shadows lying, made of brick or paper. They are inside the other things you cannot see, or if you see them, they see you first and have already planned your death or imprisonment. Sometimes they will imprison you in paper or words, or sometimes they will imprison you inside yourself, where you be screaming but cannot hear yourself, such as you cannot see. Call me a black hole, call the world a mystery. So when he said that he wanted nothing and nobody, he was telling the truth as far as he knew it, but clearly he did not know it. Did the truth know him? The truth could speak, but it was drowned by itself as evil. Evil speaks the truth, and so do lies. Sometimes the lie is truer than the truth, because many times the truth is a lie, and a lie is the truth. Get it? So he lived alone in his own truth, lying, and the lie was clearly true. Or have you ever one day Have you never, the next day, like standing on the corner for 35 years expecting to be shot, but nothing? So you go back home and the corner comes in the door behind you. And there you are, not shot, then shot. So B found out he had been lying by telling the truth as he knew it, but not knowing he didn't know he knew a lie as the truth. So when he found out, he found in. When he opened his eyes, his mouth opened too. He was calling, and this was startling. He was calling. It was shocking, because he had never known he was calling, but he had been calling all the time and never knew it. He was calling when he discovered he was calling for what he said he didn't want. Thing and body. Every, not any. All things and all bodies. It was true he had always been calling, even though he didn't know it, even though he didn't hear himself, even though he was lying when he was convinced he was telling the truth. Thank you.
Please unmute. Thank you so much, Iris.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that's our program for this evening. Juneteenth is actually June 19th, so you still have some time to get your celebrations ready. Most of you know how to get in touch with me. I would actually like to put this recording on the channel, but if you don't want to do that, please message me in the chat. I'm going to stop the recording right now.